Welcome to Rauta's Death Metal Split Review. In this review we go through kind of two different bands but which are then released on split album. And not only that, we have also two versions. The Digipack CD and the vinyl. Let's start with the lesser version, which is, well, you guessed it right, CD. However, this is not your typical CD release, considering it's a digipack with actually two different CDs. So once again, not just one CD with two bands here called Imprecation and Black Blood Invocation, but two bands which are then separated here on two individual CDs, which I think makes this very interesting release, considering that usually all these splits are done with just one CD, kind of a save space and, you know, makes sense. But in this way you actually have like two mini CDs with just one set of covers, and then again all these images are right there, you know, with one set of covers. I don't know why this hasn't been done so much before, but I think it makes a whole lot of sense, and I think this is very cool way to do it. So here we have this Greek duo, two members from Black Blood Invocation, and the five-man band called Imprecation. So they're nicely, neatly done with this CD. Really cool packaging, if you ask me. Then the more cooler version is this vinyl, obviously, which is a gatefold. I'll kind of just remove the ingredients, so to speak, so I can actually show you in its full glory. So as you can see here, it's once again those same set of images, because why the hell not? Same set of photos. You have the black red cover as well as the back cover having the track list. As you can see, both of these bands have 4 tracks. It's about 15 minutes per Imprecation and roughly about 20 minutes per Black Blood Invocation. And then we obviously have the vinyl, traditional black vinyl here. Nothing special about it as such, but also the vinyl version comes with something that CD doesn't have, which is this two-sided lyrical sheet. As you can see, there are a couple of rather occult images here from Black Blood guys, and then the lyrical side of also Imprecation. Both nicely done with good quality. And on top of that, this vinyl version also has this cover poster, which makes the image kind of shine in its full glory. So kind of a nice bonus content, if you will. Now it's time to take a look at the Metal Archives side, which you can see right here. I'll start this time not with the band side, but more on the actual release side, because this features the track list here. Obviously you can see these both having 4 tracks, and this is the vinyl version. It doesn't have the individual lengths here, but if we take a look at these double CD versions, you can see that it's 15 and 20 minutes, like I said. This was already released, by the way, in December 2019, so it's a little bit late here, but whatever. I think what matters is that the music is interesting. Now let's start with Imprecation, because it's the first one here. As you can see, it's a United States-based band coming from Texas. Had a plenty of different logos throughout the years. Then we have this band image. I don't know how recent this is, but, well, they look badass to me anyway. And as you can see, it's old band coming from 1991, but before 2013 they didn't even have a full-length album out, because they kind of split out for, say, 11 years. I don't know if it was more being hiatus or just split up, but doesn't really matter. Nothing was going on for so many years with this band, but then they came back like 2009, and since then, as you can see, they have done demo EPs, couple of splits now, and 2 full-length albums, so they're very much back in the game, especially having these 2 releases from 2019, of which This Diabolical Flames of the Ascended Plague is the latest one. And from this one we can pretty much just switch to Black Blood Invocation and find out the information here. And this is very interesting because it's based in, founded in 2014 and based in Athens. So this is almost 25 years younger band. I say 25, even it's still 23, but the point is it's a quarter of a century. So a huge gap in the age of that. And as you can see, this is very inexperienced band versus Imprecation, considering it's only a demo EP out before this actual split. But now it's time to talk about the music about Diabolical Flames. And, well, actually, it's kind of interesting that these two bands coming from very different corners of the earth are very much kind of like brothers from another mother, as the saying goes. They both are kind of old school death metal. They both have synths included, and they both are very dark and flirting with the occult. They are kind of a satanic death metal bands, or at least very much more to those ideas than just your traditional violent and death metal gory stuff. And we'll start with the Imprecation being kind of a old school. It's very much like the late 80s, early 90s type of death metal. One could even say it's very much close to a band called Death, what they were already doing in the 80s. So it's kind of a dark, and it's also at the same time this kind of a, you know, kind of a moldy stuff. It's not very technical, and it's not all the way just fast pounding, fast paced stuff. But, you know, giving this kind of a mid-tempo and then fast tempo and, you know, switching with those parts, which in my opinion makes it more interesting than just doing it all the way fast tempo. Some bands are, in my opinion, leaning way too much just being fast and trying to do very brutal stuff that way. But it also makes too many of those bands very monotone, and it gets kind of a repetitive. Whereas Imprecation is actually turning these slower parts into their kind of a victory. I mean, they're using it in their advantage to make it more interesting. And they actually slow it so much down that it's almost like early Doom death stuff, which in my opinion even makes this even more interesting. So it's very dark, and they are not ashamed to do it slow and fast. And that, I think, does the trick. Now, the riffs are not the most original or most imaginative types of death metal riffing, but it doesn't really matter, because with 15 minutes in, you have these plenty of diversity right there with these kind of strong growly vocals and kind of this musty, moldy sound, which then again creates this old school feeling. So it's kind of interesting. And with this kind of MCD, it's very easy to get to know this band, you know, the basics, and if you like it, then go further with their full-length albums and whatnot. Black Blood Invocation, then again, is more leaning on the fast-paced. It's not all the way that, but still way more than Imprecation. And it's not exactly as old school with their sound. I mean, there are similarities, and the kind of sound is very much supporting in the old ways rather than modern death metal. And in that sense, it kind of makes a lot of sense that these two bands are right there to, you know, support one another. But I think Black Blood Invocation is still a little bit more inexperienced versus Imprecation, and as such, it doesn't create that interesting stuff. It's not very different, and I think the competition here, if there is any in the first place, is very tight. I mean, they are both has these good elements, and also Black Blood Invocation also has this use of synths. They are maybe more dramatic, maybe more gothic, if you will, but I mean, they are different bands, but at the same time they are like these brothers. So it makes a lot of sense to have them on this split, and I think they are really supporting one another, giving both bands this good show. So, for example, I could imagine seeing these guys perform on one stage, one gig, and, you know, and that would make a lot of sense. So this split is, in a ways, nice release. It's not top-notch material. It's not something that you have never ever heard before. Those synths are not the typical stuff in death metal. I don't know, after Nocturnus did it with their Key album back in the days, not too many bands have started to use them, but I mean, still, it's not that uncommon, really. But anyway, I think these guys are very much doing their own stuff in a good way, and this split is very, very good way to start to know these bands. So, with that information, click on their Bandcamp pages, and start checking out. So for example, here you can see the links. This is actually guiding you to the Helter Skelter, the label Bandcamp site, but that actually has these songs, and I will include these links in the description box for your convenience, so you can pretty much check it out, both bands in that way. So with this information, do your homework, get to check out these bands, and well, what can I say? Enjoy. Take care. Bye bye.